Hey R2 Builders, I'm Ari of Building R2D2. Welcome back. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Don't forget to comment and like on our videos. Today we are doing a tutorial on how to scratch build a holoprojector. A little history on the holoprojector. If you don't feel like hearing the history lesson for class today, just feel free to skip on later on in this video. The holoprojector was originally a Viscount Vickers 700 reading lamp, which came off of the Viscount Vickers airplanes. They're found primarily over in Europe. If you can find one and get a hold of the holoprojectors, that'd be really cool. There are some downsides to those holoprojectors in which they are a little bit fragile and they break easy. If you plan on showing your R2D2 to a lot of little kids in hospitals and things like that, it's probably not best to get those because they are fragile and children love to grab on lots of parts. Here is my holoprojector right here. As you can see, we've got the cap. Inside is the cabochon, goes right there. We also have the inner circle and the outer circle. People always wonder, where do I get these parts? In this video, we're going to show you where to get the parts. We'd like to thank astromech.net as always because they contribute quite a bit to plans, and this is where I got the plans for this. As also go into the chats and the forums. There are plenty of people to talk to in there that will help you out when you need to build things, including myself. When you do build this, remember you're going to have many expressions on your face, such as angry when it doesn't turn out how you want, or happy when it does turn out how you want. So my best advice, pick whichever Vader face you want and assemble your holoprojectors in that favorite Vader face. Mine personally is happy. Here's my impression of that. However, sometimes I do get angry, and here's my other impression of Vader's angry face. Enough of joking around, let's get to building this holoprojector, people. Here's a completed cap that I already have done. All this we have right here, these are the parts that are needed to get this cap completed, and it's not a lot of them. First one we've got is a bottle of mouthwash. This type of cap is the one that's needed. Nothing else will work. This is the exact dimensions you want for the cap. For when we measure this according to the plans, from the bottom up to the top, they measure out equal. So you need one mouthwash cap. You are going to need some styrene strips. I have two of these. This one here is 0.10 by 0.030, and this is 0.030 by 0.100. This one here, rather flimsy. This is the 0.010 by 0.030. This is going to make the outer edges of our cap. This will go on the inside edge, and this is a 0.030 by 0.100, and that's rather thick, and you'll see why in a minute. Got some contour putty. This is going to go around the outside edge of this cap, and we'll show you why. You can either use the contour putty or you can use Bondo. I'm going to use the Bondo on the inside because we have to smooth some stuff out in there. And that's really all the parts that you're going to need. So let's go over the tools now that we need to make this cap. We've got our cap right here. What we need to do is get a ruler that measures in 30 seconds, which this one has. You see them, they're right there. They're at the bottom. Just stick it right here on the cap. We'll move it in a little bit like there. And we'll do a little bit of adding and subtracting. That way we know exactly where to measure this cap for its height. It'll work perfectly, just as we need it. Of course, you're going to need a pencil to mark stuff. Blue painter's tape. We're going to wrap that around this. That way it gives us a nice edge to cut on, and it works very well. You can use a hacksaw to cut your plastic cap. If you don't want to use a hacksaw, you can use a Dremel. That's what I did. I have a plastic sanding disc, which you can buy at the hardware store. Also have this, which is the sander. We're going to need that later on after we apply the styrene strips. We have plastic cement, and that's used to put the styrene strips onto the cap. We've got our toothpick. That way you can apply the rubber cement to them very liberally, and it should stick just fine. I like my R2 to look dirty, so I'm not going to worry about that. If it looks a little gritty, I'm happy with it. Got some wax paper. This is to use the rubber cement while you're working with it. And of course, sandpaper. This is 120 grit. It's drywall sandpaper. It's rather thick. It does a good job when you're putting on the contour putty and your Bondo. And of course, this is really thick sandpaper. The finer the grade, you know, the better the cap will look once you're done sanding it down. We're going to need these little snips. What these do, when we apply the styrene strips over here, we just lightly clip them off of this cap make sure we do a good job, and that's when this will come in handy right here. You'll just go around the edges there and fine tune that and make it look nice and pretty all around. So that goes over the materials needed, and that goes over the tools that we're going to need to make this cap. So let's get started. First thing we have is our mouthwash. Now we're going to get a close-up here, and I'm going to show you what this cap looks like ahead of time and what it'll look like afterward. So we have our cap here. As you can see, it has all these ridges around it. These ridges look nothing like what the new cap looks like once it's done. This is what the cap looks like once it's finished. Ignore that gloss, that's just the rubber cement reflection. This is an unpainted cap. You can see this little white area right here. What this white area is, on this cap right here, we turn this over here to this side, you could see that white area. It's right there. These ridges need to be filled in with putty. So after we cut out this cap, we're going to fill in all these edges, and we're going to make that look nice and pretty. We're then going to apply our styrene strips all the way around, and we're going to show you how to do that. Don't worry about counting how many there are. There's going to be a total of 36 or 32, I can't remember offhand, but don't worry about spacing because it's going to equal out in the long run. Our first step is to cut this cap from the bottom to the top, and that is 23/32. If you look on the plan, you'll see it has dimensions that list. The cap is looking as if it were 13/16, but it really isn't. There's a little lip on the bottom that measures to that we actually need to subtract. That lip is 3/32. So if you subtract that 3/32 from the 13/16, it gives you 23/32. So we're going to measure that all the way around, and then we're going to put some tape around there so we can cut this. Now you can see we have our cap. It's marked all the way around here. We're going to take our blue tape. We're going to go all the way around this edge, up 1/32 from those lines, because that's how thick our blade is that we're using. So we're going to do this very carefully and take our time with it. Alright, so this is what this should look like once it's all taped up. Now we're ready to cut it. We've got our Dremel tool out. Let's put our safety glasses on, that way we don't get anything in our eyes, because if we can't see our R2, there's no fun in that now, is it? So slowly go around this edge. Remember, you might have some shards of plastic flying at you. This blade can melt those a little bit as well, so just go careful with it. We'll make a nice cut. This tape definitely helps out with the placement as well, and it keeps this right on track. So this is what this looks like. Looks a little rough around the edges, but that's okay. This stuff here, you can just pick it off, or you can sand it down, whatever you prefer. Alright, so now we have a nice cut cap. If you look on the inside, you're going to see these little edges. We can either sand these down or scrape them away. I prefer to sand them down just a little bit. It doesn't have to be sanded down all the way, just partly, because we're going to cover those up with some Bondo. Put in our little sander. Just comes out real handy for doing stuff like this. work our way around the edges with all these as you see, slowly sanding these off. With all that sanded out along the inside, best we need it, we're just going to take our sandpaper, put this down right here, turn this over, just kind of go around like this. That way we can get nice and even all the way around. This is our lens cap, and it's going to look really good when it's done. If you do want perfection, you might want to order something like some resin parts, but who wants to do that? That's no fun, is it? Our next step, we take our cap, we're going to take our ruler and we're going to measure from this edge inward 5/16. So we're going to mark that all the way around. Alright, so now that we've got this marked all the way around 5/16 from the bottom here to that line, we're going to take one of our thick styrene strips. We're going to go to the top right here and then bring it down, and we're going to go all the way around that. Then we're going to turn it on this side and use our thinner styrene strip. We're going to go around this edge right here. We're going to bring it down just a little bit, maybe a 32nd of an inch, and just go around the edge of that, and we're going to fill that in with putty later on. Alright, we've got our rubber cement here, we've got our cap, and we've got our styrene. We're just going to go around that line just like we said. As well, we've also got our thinner strip, and we're going to do that as well for the top portion. We do have enough of that. So, turn this over, clear any excess that might drip off, lightly go around the inside of that strip. Right here, slowly making our way around. Here's the bead of rubber cement. Goes all the way around. You want to work quick because it does melt that styrene. We're going to put this in there. Just kind of lightly place it in. You want to make sure it goes into place. It's going to shift on you a little bit when you're doing this, so just remember that ahead of time. Once you get to the edge, just kind of find where it meets up with the other section. Grab our clips here, you want to press this in. And remember, it's okay if it doesn't come quite to the edge of this and meet up perfectly, because we can always fill this in later. Just want to clip that strip away. Do as we said earlier, make sure this comes to that edge. Pressing this in firmly. You want this to be nice and secure all the way around. Looking at this strip, you can see on the inside that it just meets up with our lines that we placed inside there, and that's exactly where we want it. We're now going to put another band of glue around here and put our other strip just barely inside of that going down. Here you can see where we placed this strip all the way around on the inside. What we're going to do is take some contour putty later on and go around that strip and then sand it down. That way it creates a little bevel like it calls for in the plan, and it'll turn out perfect. We're going to mix up a small amount of Bondo, and we're going to do the inside of this real fast. We don't need a lot, just a little bit, just like that. Get a little bit of cream hardener on there. Don't need too much. Mix this together, and remember, it works pretty quickly, so you have to be fast with what you're doing with it. That's good. We're going to take our little tool here that we're going to use to get inside here. That way we can get a nice smooth edge. Put a little bit of hardener on the inside of that. Fill it in, clean off the edges. Let's take our contour putty that we have right here, and we're going to go around the edges of this and fill in all these gaps, including making this look nice and smooth. It's going to take a couple of coats to do this, and we're going to do it right. We now have our first layer of Bondo and contour putty in this. Our next step is to sand it down with our sandpaper and a bowl of water. I wet sand it even though you don't have to. I just rip off a little piece like this, dip it in the water, and I go around this and make it nice and smooth. It'll take a couple coats to fill in everything, and when we're done, it'll look really nice. This is the result of the end of coat 1. It looks a lot better than when we first started. We're going to let this dry a little bit because it's wet, and we're going to come back, put a little more contour putty on that, and get all these rough edges out that you can see all along this edge here. Once we do that, we can sand that down, and then we'll put our little strips on here and make this a complete cap. Now that we've done all the sanding on the first coat with the Bondo and the putty, we're going to put another coat on this, and then we're going to wait another hour and let that dry. We're going to do the inside and the outside. Just take this and just apply some strips of putty over like this. Just go around the whole edge. Get close to the bottom as well because that's where it gets filled in. And this stuff sets up a little quick too, so you want to work fast with it once you start smoothing it out. And then just put some of this on the inside of here. Smooth it out with your finger a little bit. Fill in all the gaps. There we go. That's done. We're going to let this sit for another hour or so, and then we'll come back and we'll fill it in one more time. The coat we just put on is now ready to be sanded down, so we're going to sand that down. Once we do that, we'll see if we need to put any more putty onto this. If we do need more putty, we'll do so, and we'll sand that down as well, and hopefully it'll be ready to put on our strips of styrene to create all the edges around this. So we'll just do some wet sanding one more time, and we'll see how this turns out. Alright, so we do have a couple of spots on here that do need a little bit more putty on here. Same on the inside. So once this dries with the water that's on there, we're going to put another coat of putty, sand that down, and we'll be able to put our strips on after that. It may need a couple of touch-up spots, but nothing too major. We've got our cap sanded down again. The water has dried. There are some spaces that need touching up, so we're going to go around this one more time with our putty as well on the inside. Cover the areas that need putty. Usually the base is where it needs it the most. Just work in areas. Smooth one way, then come back and smooth the other. Slowly work your way around the cap. We finally reached the point where we're going to do a final sand on this. Just going to wet sand it, and it should look really good, and we'll put our styrene strips on. This is the end result of all our somewhat hard work, if you can call it that. We have a couple spots here that I could touch up if I wanted to, but I'm choosing not to because I want that rough look for my R2. This looks pretty decent on the inside. It's all smooth right there, especially where we have that gap. Everything is looking good. We're just going to let this dry, and we are going to start putting our strips on. I've got a piece of graph paper set up right here. Got our little snips ready to go. We have our styrene strips. These are the ones that are 0.010 by 0.030. Real flimsy. And of course, we have our rubber cement. Our cone is on here. We are going to mark the center right here and one on the back. Just a line. Then we are going to put one on the side right here. and put one on the other side over here. What this is doing is forming 4 quadrants. That way we do not have to align anything up. Instead, when we go to put our strips on, we just do it in sections instead of having to measure out every time. The good thing about doing this is you can kind of see through where your marks are and see the old ridges, so you know where to put some of your lines because they will line up quite nicely. So you want a small amount of glue, as I like to do. Just put a little bit of dab right there on the side, keep it out of the way. Try to avoid touching your fingers with this the best you can. Slowly glide your strip over the glue. You may want to get off some of the excess on there, but not too much. Find where your first mark is. Line this up at the bottom right here. Press down nice and firm. And you're going to notice you're going to get glue all over the place when you try this. Take your snips, put them on the outside edge, and just kind of clip inward. It's going to line it up almost perfectly to the edge here. You may get a little bit of glue on the outside, but that's okay. You can always brush it off. Repeat the process for the other 3. If you feel you're running out of glue, all you do, just put a little more dab on there. We now have 4 equal quadrants that are set up around the edge, and we're going to go quadrant that off again, just eyeballing roughly where each center is, going around the centers every time. Alright, so now we've got 8 of these down already. And like I said, every time, just work your way around, doing in quadrants until you have, I think it's 36, I believe, or I should say 32. You'll have 32 all the way around. We have all of our pieces on. Just sand these off right here, as you can see, all the way around, and we'll be done with this cap. All we have to do now is take our Dremel tool with this little sander on here and get all these little fine points that are off, as you can see. It'll only take a couple seconds. Always go from the bottom up, or at least the reverse rotation of this, that way it doesn't peel off any of these sides here. There we go. That's all done. This concludes making this holoprojector cap. What we're going to do is find a way to mount it on a half circle using one of these right here. I've already cut this half circle. I'm going to show you how to cut another one. That'll be in part 2 coming up next. As always, thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, comment, and like.